So thanks for joining us as we interview the brightest minds in cyber here at the Elisity Studio at RSA 2026 in San Francisco. I'm William Toll, and today I have Andy Ellis. Andy is a former CSO at Akamai for 20 some odd years. Yep. He's an advisor. He's the principal of Duha, and he wrote a book, How to CSO.
Yeah, it's a website, ongoing sort of serial of ebooks to help people who are either CSOs currently or looking to become CSOs and engaging in the practice.
Right. You know, that's great. You know, you have so much wisdom and experience in so many different cyber domains. Mm-hmm. One of the questions that we wanted to talk about today was, how are organizations struggling to prevent lateral movement?
So the challenge, I think, is that preventing lateral movement is an objective. And if you don't implement the right architectures that drive that objective, you're not going to succeed. And the challenge is, I think people say, well, let's just assume a breach, because one of the principles of zero trust is written by the analysts, and therefore I can't stop breaches. And the reality of lateral movement is you have to plan on stopping breaches, not every single one. But you have to say, look, if somebody compromises a machine, I don't want them to be able to move laterally. That's right. And there's two different approaches you can take, and you have to take both of them. One is to just fundamentally limit all lateral movement as much as you can. But the other is we have to stop being so tied up in this model that we have to control every device, because most of the lateral movement is coming through administrative agents we've deployed onto machines. And as long as there exist these paths for lateral movement, adversaries will take advantage of them. So the safest machine in most enterprises would be the one that you just walked down the store, went to the Apple store or the Microsoft store, bought a machine, locked it down, no one has admin, and you're now not worried about being compromised by your own tools.
Right. And now we're in the age of agents,
yes.
And they have permissions.
And they're going to make everything worse, because our whole model has been moving to single-user systems. Right? We all started with multi-user systems, and those were a disaster to try to configure, and it became very easy when we locked it down and said there's one user on a machine, and very few places deviate from that. Except now you have one human user on a machine, and you might have 1,000 agents on that same machine. How do you just separate between who's doing what?
Sure. You know, this is fundamental, not just that new machine, but legacy devices, right? Yeah. We've got a lot of manufacturing customers who have 20-year-old devices, and or maybe running X version of Windows.
Right, because it hasn't been updated,
right?
and
or there is no choice, right? The supplier insists and beyond. Or maybe a medical device that can't be updated without going through FDA approvals and things. You know, lateral movement can, you know, once that breach happens.
Right. And you know, I've always been a huge fan of a VPN style model, where we say, look, if we have devices that cannot trust the network, then why do you actually have it on the network? Right? It's okay that it's internet capable, but there's no reason it's publicly addressable, even to other assets inside your environment. So how do you enclave them? And you know, mentally we say the VPN, but what we're really saying is, no, we really want to just put some box around it that's both doing network segmentation and probably some form of proxying as well. Because what makes that legacy Windows box a danger is not it intrinsically. It's the fact that somebody can talk to it who shouldn't.
That's right, that's right. And you know, this is the biggest challenge that so many organizations have. You know, what is blocking progress in zero trust and operationalizing it at scale?
So I would say there's probably any number of challenges. The first one is almost certainly messaging and the people pushing zero trust, which is they are pushing a message that fundamentally says that what I'm trying to do is protect my network from you, the end user, or from you, the developer, and it comes across as this very anti-organizational message. Right? I don't trust you. And if instead we walked in and said, I don't trust my administrative machines, I don't trust anything I put on the network, and I don't want you to trust them. Right? Your computer should not trust anything else, and vice versa. And that's not a message they're saying. And so when a developer hears it, what they really hear is, I'm going to break the network. And I'm going to break all of your assumptions, and you have to come begging to me to be able to do the things you need to do your job. So messaging, first thing that gets in the way. Second thing that gets in the way is people sometimes think too big. Right? And they don't say, like, what are just the basic movements we can do? When I did Zero Trust, right, we were one of the first companies to do it. It took us 10 years, but it was not 10 years where we saw all the benefit in year 10.
That's right.
We were seeing steps along the way, some of which we got rid of. We implemented 8021X on every wired network drop in the company. That was foolish, but it gave us the infrastructure to deploy X509 certs onto every machine, which we then later use for our identity proofing on the network. And it's that taking the incremental steps, people see the benefit, and they see that you're not going to break things. So you want to move quickly and get small incremental wins, and people will look and say, oh, I can trust you, because you're not here to break things.
Right.
You're just going to make something better for me.
Right. It's a journey.
Yeah.
And what's super interesting is innovation and new architectures and new ways of, maybe a better mousetrap or something, right?
Right.
So.
And sometimes it's just a better way to put mousetraps out. Right? We look at the rise of AI, and I was doing a panel earlier today, and there was this insight. Everybody talked about how AI gives you speed. And I realized that it's not actually about speed, it's about the ability to manage complexity. We've all known that developer in our organization who we call the 10x developer, right? And we probably have 10x marketers and 10x whatevers. And fundamentally, what that means is that person holds all of the context in their head for the world they have to operate in. And so when you say, oh, there's a bug in this code, the moment you start to describe it, they're like, oh, I know exactly what line that bug is in, and I will just go fix it right now. Somebody who doesn't hold that whole code in their head, they take 10 times as long to go find it. In the same way that in marketing, there's a number of disciplines where it's like, oh, I know what this account is, I know this demographic, I don't have to go do research. And when you think about network management, it's always that way. If you don't know everything happening on your network, you can't safely make a change.
That's right.
But an agent can actually understand everything on the network and tell you the harm of any possible change.
Right, and maybe innovation could enable simulating a policy for X number of days, weeks, months, right?
Well, especially months, because what I've found is one of the biggest worries people have is things like, if I look at my network traffic for 2 weeks, well, did I capture the monthly backups? Did I capture the quarterly software update? Or the push of our financials report out to the investors? Like, there's so many things that don't happen on this fast timeline that it's reasonable to be worried that somebody who says, well, I'm just going to sample network traffic for 2 weeks, and I'll make my decisions based on that, that's scary.
Yeah, and the goal, of course, is to have a non-disruptive deployment of a policy, right?
Exactly.
So if you have the confidence, because you've got that visibility, you've got the confidence, all the context needed to create that policy and then simulate that policy, this could be a whole new world, right?
Well, and what you said there is the ideal approach, even though nobody thinks of it that way. Policy is the last thing you do, right? Policy is when you encode your practices. So the first thing you should do is not say, well, my policy is going to be that these devices don't talk to these devices. You say, what is my practice? Oh, these devices don't talk to each other? Great, let's make that a policy so that we don't have to worry about it. But if you say, oh, it's my policy, well, oh, there's an exception, and so now I can't do it, that's where you run into trouble.
Great. This has been amazing, Andy. Thank you so much.
No problem. It's great to be here.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.